Hello everybody, I'm Lee, this is Combe Valley Campers, and today we're going to show you how to take your Mk2 Golf Headliner from this to this. So, before we make a start today, hang on. Giants. These are our new masks. This one is our limited edition Millennium Falcon mask with the awesome Millennium Falcon print and of course our CVC logo. We've also got hats, hoodies and t-shirts as well. If you go over to www.combevalleycampers.co.uk, you can check out our new merchandise. You can also see our new range of, our new blogs, which we've got lots of to help you through your project build. And we've also got links to our Patreon. If you'd like to become a patron supporter or a supporter of the channel, please do. It's actually helping a huge deal, and we've got some really good news to tell you in the coming days, weeks and months regarding all the patron support we've got. So yes, before we start the video, check out our merchandise. We've got the hats, the hoodies, the tees, the masks, all sorts of stuff, and also stickers. At the moment we're giving away free stickers on all of our merchandise, so please be sure to make your order and we'll be throwing some stickers in there. Oh, and before I forget, if you're a patron supporter or a subscriber to our website, you get a 10% discount at the checkout, and if you are merchandise and above level patron supporter, you get 20% off. So go and check it out now. So what we're going to be doing today is replacing the headliner on a Mk2 Golf. In this particular case, this is a late Mk2 Golf GTI, and it's a really awesome car. It's a factory black version. It's never been painted. It's wearing, well, I say that, it's wearing most of its original paint. I've known this car a while now. I've done lots of work. We've replaced the dash, we've redone the seats, we've done engine work, welding work, all sorts of stuff on this car. But now is the time to do the headliner. And again, if you know a Mk2 Golf at all, or even a Mk3 Golf, the headliners fail and they tend to droop. And now, it's not really Volkswagen's fault that they fail. It's down to the age. And the bit that actually fails in the headlining is not the material itself, it's not the adhesive, it's actually the foam layer in between the material and the headliner board. And what we're going to do today is show you how to remove the fabric and the foam, and we're going to show you how to replicate the foam, and we're getting the fabric from heritagepartscentre.com. You may see the little sign up in the background there, Heritage Parts Centre. We are working with more and more, and we're going to be showcasing a lot more of their products, and the first one we're going to be doing today is going to be their headlining material, and they've gone to great lengths to replicate VW Mk2 Golf GTI Headliner material, and we'll show you that very shortly. But yeah, just to recap, going to remove all of the parts out of the car that we need to access the headliner. We're then going to be removing the material off the headliner, preparing it, and then relining it with a Scrim Foam, the new material from Heritage Parts Centre, and then popping it all back in. And I can't wait to show you the results.
All right.
So the tools and products you're going to need today are as follows. Well, first of all, make sure you've got your PPE. We're going to be dealing with some aerosols today, so making sure a mask, not one of our Combe Valley masks, but a proper filtered mask is used. We're going to be taking the interior out, so we're going to need trim tools, sockets, ratchets, spanners, screwdrivers, so that'll all help us take the trim out that we will need to enable us to get the headliner out of this car. scissors and a blade, because we might need to make some alterations to the fabric and especially to the scrim lining I'm going to be using. Glue and adhesion promoter. Now, I'll explain it later, but sometimes when you use just a high temperature adhesive on some materials, it doesn't actually stick that well and it can be known to fail. So we recommend using an adhesion promoter such as this, and that will help you. It's almost like a primer. It's clear, you can't see it actually lay onto the surface, but you spray all of your items with a fine mist of this adhesion promoter and it'll act as a primer for your glue and or paint, whatever you're using your adhesion promoter for. But in this instance, we'll be using adhesion promoter and this high temp spray adhesive. The materials we're going to be using today are right in front of us here. We will be replacing the failed foam on the headliner with this 2mm Scrim Foam. It's advertised on a site called Woolies, and it's advertised as 2 to 3mm Scrim Foam. And as you can see, it's got like a very thin backing, a millimetre's worth of foam, and then this, I want to say like a Hessian, but it's certainly another lining material on there. And what that will do is disguise the lumps and bumps on your original headliner, and it'll also give you that factory feel. When you actually sort of touch the headliner, you'll have a nice sort of cushioned surface, so to speak. Now, the other reason we're going to use this liner is because if you just stuck this heritage fabric directly to the board, you wouldn't get the nicest of finish. You want to replicate, or our aim today is to replicate the factory finish with this headliner material from Heritage Parts Centre, and to do that we are going to need to replicate using this foam as well. So this kit, I will leave a link below, from Heritage, and it actually comes pre-cut so you know which way to orientate it on your headliner when you get your headliner down. It comes with one large roll and then this supplementary part as well, and that is designed to be divvied up in between the sunroof section, because we're going to be showing you how to replace the sunroof section of material, and the plate that is covered by this material, and that's the plate that sits behind the sunroof winding handle. So there's going to be some bits you can skip if you don't have a sunroof car, but if you do, we've got this extra piece of material here that'll help you cover those bits and pieces. So without further ado, we're going to be using all of this gear now to take out all the interior parts and be prepared for a bit of a montage, because here we go. So in order to get this headliner down, there's lots of bits and pieces we're actually going to need to remove, such as sun visors, grab handles, mirrors, some of these parts for the sunroof. We're actually going to remove this rubber felt trim for the sunroof as well, A-pillar trim, the C-pillar trim at the back there, and all the trim surrounding the boot as well. Most of it's Phillips screwdrivers, but there are some spanners and ratchets that's needed as well, so keep an eye on it, because we'll show you how to do it. So a couple of hints and tips when you're stripping out your interior. You can baggy all of the screws and label them where they go. However, if you're not taking this out for long, you can actually just use a bit of tape. Here we've got masking tape, but you can use whichever you've got, I guess, just to sort of secure those screws in there, so you know which screws came from where, and they're going to be in their home when you come to pack it back up again, or put it back up. The next ones we're going to be removing are the A-pillars. Again, we'll just put some tape over the screws so we know those screws go there, and then we're going to be removing the felt trim around this sunroof aperture, sunroof frame, and then that's going to be about it. The headliner would fall down, but it's being held in at the sides by these door rubbers, and I could pull them down now, but the whole headliner would sag at the front, so they'll be the last thing to take off, and that'll actually assist us to keep it supported whilst we're manoeuvring it out the way of the boot. And then when we come to put the headliner back in again, it's actually really good to pop those trims up first, and then they'll keep it supported both sides as you're putting the whole thing back in. But for now, we're going to be taking this trim up. To remove this rubber trim, I'm going to have to take you up top because there's a couple of screws that we've got to remove to be able to just release this trim from the edges. So I'll see you up there. So this is the felt we were talking about just here, and it's held in at these corners here and here. Now I could just try and pull it out and prise it, but it's not the way we do things. So what I've got to do is release a bunch of screws. In fact, let me do this from the other side so we can see it all. So what we've got to do is release a bunch of screws. We've got 1, 2, 3, all the way around, and then that will release this area here just enough so we can prise this out, and then we'll keep it loose so when it comes to putting the sunroof back in, we can prise it back down again. So this first one here, in fact I'm going to go and get a magnetic tray. Keep all the screws in there. Again, so that first one that came out of here, that was a machine thread. That's more of a self-tapper thread. So now we've got the movement of this one here. That's out of the way. Now those two end ones are out. See, that's still tight. So they're now all undone. I'm going to take that out the way entirely. Let's keep it out of harm's way. And then I'm going to release those two here. Plate. Come on, you. 1, 2. No. It's not going to come out until I've released that side. 1. 2. Another machine screw there. But that's actually enough now. There you go. I can remove that from that edge there. We can pry it all the way off without too much damage. And then, yeah, that's simple really. We'll keep hold of this. We're not replacing this because it's still in very good condition. But I shall leave that to one side with the other parts, and then that will enable us to do the next stage, which is to release the fabric from around the edge, because the headliner fabric actually sticks up to around the metal bodywork of the car, or the roof skin, so to speak. It creates a nice neat finish around the edge and just anchors it up. So all of the material is now released around the sunroof frame, and again obviously this doesn't apply to you if you don't have a sunroof. The next trim I'm going to remove is the rearmost trim at the boot, and then the only thing that's really holding this up are the 4 pins in the center of the roof and the window rubbers actually. So if I remove that trim first, then we'll do the 4 pins, and then we should be able to slide the whole headliner material out, or the whole headliner card out the roof, and I'll clear that table now and we can lay it straight on the workbench. The last part we need to remove is the sunroof cover. And it's actually more simple than you think. I say that, I'm gonna have trouble now. So it's essentially a door card, this piece. And if I remember rightly, it literally poppers in here. And as you wind out, or wind the roof in, or out, sorry. There you go. That is now released from the remainder of the roof. Remove that handle. And that should, if I now wind that back in, let's go up top a second, let me show you from up top. So it's these little clips actually clip into the metal part of the sunroof, which is here. And what we've got to do is slightly lift those parts here, so the actual sunroof slides all the way out. It's not easy, but it does go. And that's the whole panel as it sits. Let's get on and recover it. I'm going to come out clean. This is not the first time I've done this headliner in this car. The reason we are doing it again and showing you how to do it this time is because the adhesive failed on this roof. We don't know why, we don't know if it's down to the heat, we don't know whether it's how we applied it, but we are doing this roof for the second time, which is why I'm confident to show you how to do it. When your headliner comes off or out of your car, bearing in mind these cars are 30 odd years old, you will find that it's probably going to come out in about 4 or 5 different pieces. And you will have to repair it. First of all, you've got to remove all the headliner and then all of the old foam that will be stuck to the actual headliner board itself. And that will be horrible and sticky and a complete mess. Now, the way to do it, this doesn't have the foam on it now. This has another liner underneath this top material. To remove that foam, I would suggest using sandpaper and maybe even an orbital sander. You've got to bring this door card, and we'll show you it after. Once we've removed all of this, I'll show you how we've repaired it, etc. This headliner is pretty tough, but they get fragile with age. They're actually like a closed cell foam themselves, and they break and get brittle. But to get all of the old foam particles off, you're going to have to sand this, and then once you've sanded it, you're going to have to use a solvent-based liquid such as a brake cleaner or even a thinners to remove all of the glue residue from that old glue. It's a horrible job. It's a complete pain to do it. We've already done it once on this headliner, but that's what you've got to do. Then you've got to try and repair this headliner. Now, as far as I know, there are full headliner kits available at Heritage Parts Centre as well, and we can leave a link down below. And that'll enable you to literally buy a whole door card trimmed from them, and you can just put the whole thing in. But it's a costly option. So I'm showing you this more cost-effective option that you can do yourself. So remove your headliner, the whole piece like this, then remove the material, what's left of it, because they will all look like this and saggy and horrible. Then remove the leftovers of the foam with sandpaper and solvent-based liquids and lots of rags and things like that as well. then we're going to repair it. And what I'll do, I'll strip this down now, we'll do like a time lapse or something, we'll strip this out now, and then we can show you the repairs we've made and how we did them. So we've done this roof before, the glue has failed, we're doing it again, we're filming it for you so you can do yours at home as well. All right, let's get on. Remember I told you we'd repaired this before? We've come up to a problem. Basically, we've repaired it before and we repaired it to a point where it's going to be put up and in that car forever. We also lined the top of the roof to use as a scrim layer lining carpet that we put in camper vans. And that has stuck beautifully to the board. But because it's been glued and it's got bits of fiberglass in it, not fiberglass, bits of headboard in it, etc, etc, I want to remove that lining carpet. However, I don't feel this board will survive us removing that headliner, that carpet liner. So we're going to get creative. We're going to repair this with a glass fibre kit because it's going to be stronger, more permanent, and although it'll be a little bit heavier than the foam that this is made out of, it'll last longer than some of our previous repairs. So we're going to go on a journey now. We're going to repair all our previous repairs. We're then going to strip the carpet lining and then we're going to put the headliner on top. If you want to skip all of this process, click here and we'll take you straight to where we're actually fitting the headliner onto this roof. Let's go. So first things first, I'm going to prop up all the areas of roof, and for the moment I'm just using some paint lids. I'm going to prop it all up at about the same height, because if I was to just let it sag, you can see that's not the shape I want this to be in. We're going to be using a series of blocks, wood, anything we can find to prop this all up in the shape that we want it to be. Then we're going to be removing all the old tape and glue and epoxy that we previously used, and we're basically going to be providing the whole roof with a new skin, and that skin's going to be one layer of fiberglass. I think that will be enough. And we're going to be using a kit, and we'll literally brace all of these cracks, because you'll probably find this when you remove your headlining from your car. Check it out, they just crack, they get so fragile. They just crack, and these are cracks we've repaired before. And I was splinting those cracks, and you could do this if you're repairing yours for the first time. I was splinting those cracks with effectively barbecue skewers, wooden barbecue skewers. So I'd feed a barbecue skewer all the way through, and then I'd either glue or epoxy it into place, and you can see the remnants of all of that. So I would protect the area I wanted to glue with the tape so the glue wouldn't seep through the cracks onto other things. But here you go, I've just removed a bit of tape and it's just disintegrating this foam core. So we're now just going to be removing all of this, cleaning the area up, making sure the area is clean and free from grease, supporting the area to a point at which we're happy with. So we'll be being supported all up here so it's nice and straight and everything else. And then we'll be laying as much as we can with fiberglass so we can return the whole headliner to its original strength. And that will give us a really good base layer to add our headliner to. That took longer than we wanted to, didn't it? We have now entirely cleaned up the back of this roof panel. And if you take a closer look, you can kind of see where we'd used some glue and epoxy and everything else to try and bridge these gaps before, but it's still hideously weak. The repairs didn't last, and I take full responsibility for those. However, we are going to make amends. And we're going to do so using this fiberglass kit. Now, I'm not sponsored or endorsed or anything by Isopon. This is from our local auto motor factors, car supplies place. I asked for the kit and they sent it round, and we are going to be using it to strengthen all the way around the edges, or especially where it's needed, because, and you'll find this with your headliner, if it's in, well, be in a very similar condition, there'll be cracks, breaks, splits all the way around, and we've tried repairing it. Obviously that didn't work, so we're going to be using this glass fibre kit. It has in the kit some safety gear, some gloves, some of the fiberglass mat. Now that's quite a thick weave. I'm no fiberglass expert, which is why I've bought a kit rather than having a whole substantial amount. This is quite a thick weave. I don't know the proper terminology for it, but you can get this in finer strands. I'm sure somebody down in the comments will tell me exactly. But basically we've got the bond or resin. We have some Billy Basic tools to be able to help us mix it up. We've got some instructions on the back, some instructions here, and a brush to lay down the resin. Now, the practice will be that we mix up the resin with the hardener in that pot, dunk our brush in, and make the area that we want to apply this matting to wet with the right mixture. We then lay down this mat onto the area, and then we make it wet again using the resin, and then we leave it to cure. And we'll just do that wherever we need to. Again, this is, I've not played a lot with glass fibre at all, but this is how we're going to play that game today. The reason we wanted to repair it and make it more substantial, obviously because there's even parts missing. That should be a bridge of material across there. This should be one whole piece. And to get the best result, we just need to repair all of these areas. So I'm going to glove up, I'm going to mask up, because we're going to be cutting this fiberglass with scissors. We shall set up our resin. I believe it is a pea-size amount of hardener to each 10 millimeters of the resin, and it's got 10 millimeter increments on the side of that container as well. So I guess we will see how far it goes. You will be on the journey with us. So I'm going to mask up, cut these bits to shape and to size, mix the resin, and then we'll get on with it. Okay. So what you've just seen us do is just lay out where I want the patches. I ended up using one sheet of this. The pack comes with two. Now I'm going to be using or mixing the resin. Now I'm going to assume that 500 mils is enough for two sheets. So half a sheet is 250 mil. But they've only given us a 60 mil cup. The ratio it's given me isn't wicked at all, but I'm going to assume, no, I'm not going to assume. So say we want 250 millilitres in there. I'm going to need half that pack. It's given me that for that amount. However, I'm going to do it as per the packet, and I'm going to actually mix it in here first. So I'm going to mix 50 mil in this tub. I'm going to add 5 pea-sized pieces, and let's see how far it gets us. It might only get us to here, it might get us to halfway around. Let's see. Let's give it a go. We want to use it sparingly because we don't want to use it. We don't want to give this too much weight, but we don't want to give it the strength. So let's give it a go. 50 mil of resin, just over. Pea size. Nice.
I'm going to call that a P-ish. One, two, three, four, five. That might be too much. It might go off in 30 seconds, who knows. Use my supplied stirrer. Need one of those little cappuccino frothers, don't I? It's milk frothers, that's what it is. We've propped this up in places so it's kind of replicating the shape that we need it to set in. So yeah, we're kind of happy with that. Right, so let's get on it. Load the brush. And make sure it goes right in there. Gets all in the nooks and crannies, soaks right in. Okay, I'm going to say that's fairly well loaded. The bloody mask whistling. Cool. So now that layer's down, I've got to coat it all again with the same. Just going to sort of flood it on there. So the resin will set rock hard. That's your bond and your structure. But the fiberglass itself, the fibres, keep the actual structure all tied together. Because I'm going to guess the resin, if given enough force in the wrong way, will snap. So the fibres, the fiberglass, will stop that from happening. Oh, I think we're starting to cure.
So the whole process we've done, we're kind of learning pretty quick on the fly. In terms of the solution, the resin, we reckon 25 to 30 ml at a time gives us enough solution to do maybe a large patch or a couple of smaller ones. And using a small amount of hardener, we're kind of gauging that as we go. The stuff we did initially, which is here, that's rock hard. The other bits and pieces there, slowly hardening as we go through. It's taking its time, but we want to get it right. And what I'm doing, I'm applying, I've ditched the brush because that, pardon me, that just basically dried and got hard, and so I binned it. So I'm just using the lolly stick and I'm applying it. I'm going to keep this off for a minute just so I can speak to you, but I'm applying it into the grooves as much as possible, almost spreading it like butter onto all the areas, assessing the patch size that I need, maybe dripping it on if I need to, getting it spread out and working quite fast because depending on how much hardener you put in, it doesn't have much of a lead, a cure time. So I'm not being sloppy, just efficient with my time, should I say. So get that on there, nice thick layer, a thick enough layer to soak into the fiberglass sheet when you apply it, because because you don't want the fiberglass sheet to move either. I'm literally doing one huge patch here. Again, it looks quite sloppy, but I'm just sort of distributing the resin fairly evenly across, making sure there's no dry patches, making sure it's getting in all the cracks. And if you look back to that first patch that we did, it's actually rock hard now, so really chuffed with how it's coming out, and it'll bring that strength back, and it hasn't added much weight at all really. You know, the fiberglass sheet's pretty thin, the resins, you know, there's not a great deal. There'll probably be about at most 200 mil of resin. So yeah, in terms of the weight versus the strength that it's going to create, I'm happy with that, because we're going to be adding extra weight anyway with the headlining and foam. But yes, very happy with that. Again, yes, I know it's messy. And again, I've propped it from underneath to make sure all the cracks that are in it are closed up as much as possible, because I can't manipulate the headliner, so I need it to kind of settle in its natural position. So there we go, that's on. Lay that resin sheet down, bringing it to the edge I want it to, pressing it down, and you can see the resin soaking through. Pressing it in all the areas you want it to grab, and closing up all the areas you want to make whole again. And there we go. So I'm literally going to pour that on there now. I need to make up some more for that bit actually. I'm going to cut that patch as well there. Let's go and find my scissors. Sorry. And any excess or any bits of fibre that are sticking up, once the whole thing's dry and we're happy with it, we will actually be able to get the sander on it, much like bodywork. We'll be able to get the sander on it and sand it down so it's all nice and smooth. When the headliner's up in position, it'll be like we were never there. Whilst we're waiting for the fiberglass roof to dry and cure, I thought we'd pay some attention to the sunroof panel. It's not going to be too different to how you would carpet a wooden ply panel, much like you may or may not have seen actually in our carpeting video or our ply carpeting video, which you can find up in the description up there. We'll put a link to it now. Basically it's cutting a piece of material probably about 2 inches bigger all the way around than the actual panel you want to cover, and then using the adhesive, putting it in place, and then making nice all the edges. Now this is actually a really nice finish before, but again, as explained, the glue failed. So we are going to strip this one down, which is going to be a case of removing these clips if it wants to play nice. Come on. Yeah, so we'll remove those clips. There we go. Slide these bits off. We're just going to gently tease that off. You can see how that glue just didn't work on that material. It's stuck on this bit, but the reason we're going to be using the adhesion promoter is to lay onto this material itself. So let's peel this off. And that's all it is. That's all that's above your head on the sunroof. So I'm going to basically bin that. None of the glue has worked on that at all. And there's only a few places you put the glue on this, because it's meant to be almost a tension fitting. You're meant to glue it from one side, make it tight, and it's not really meant to stick. There's no adhesive on any of these parts. So let's put that back in the pile. Let's get this piece. This is the new stuff. I'm going to lay that down on there, move those clips out of the way. I'm going to cut it to fit. You may have noticed I'm doing a lot of sitting down in this video. And I make no apologies, but basically got trapped nerve in my leg. Bit of sciatica, just like an old man. It's killing me, so you'll see I'm sitting down a lot more in this video until the doctors get it sorted. But this material, it doesn't have a grain or anything like that. It doesn't have a direction, omnidirectional, so it doesn't really matter which way you orientate it onto that panel there. And basically we are going to, which side shall I do first? I'll probably do this side. I'm going to first of all spray that panel with the adhesion promoter that I spoke about before. Get it shook up, find my mask, and you want to lay this down in a fine mist and let it flash off, and then you can spray your glue on top of it. Leave that for a minute and we'll come back to spraying it on. Before we lay on any glue, I just wanted to make sure the actual whole panel fits, or the material will fit to the panel. So what I've done this, basically the feathering to the edge, and that means when I come to glue these panels on, it won't be too much of a problem. It won't wrinkle up or anything in the corner because I've done all this feathering to the edges. It won't wrinkle up in the corners, which I'm quite happy with. Done that to all four corners, trimmed it a bit more. Now we can go and lay on some glue. We've got the adhesion promoter. I've now got my high temperature spray adhesive. I'm not going to be gluing it to the underside, much like the factory didn't do it. However, I'm going to be gluing it first to this side. No, first to this side. Then I'll be making it tight, giving it a bit of tension before I glue it on this side. Let's get on it. And there we have it. The first part is now covered with that beautiful material. Looks gorgeous when it's on, doesn't it? And now we know that glue isn't going to come off either. That glue isn't going to fail because we've used the adhesion promoter. We've used it all the way around. It is now stuck fast. Let's go over all the edges if you want. Yeah. Really happy with that. Really nice finish. So we'll put that to one side, ready for when we've completed everything else. All the fiberglass is now dried and set, super happy with that. We're now going to attempt to peel this lining off. Again, I laid this carpet on when I repaired it last time because I needed almost a lining to keep the structure sound. We didn't think about doing the fiberglass repairs last time. and we knew that if I peeled this off now without any sort of fiberglass on it this time, it wouldn't survive. So what I'm going to do is see if we can peel this off nicely and it won't break up too much of the actual roof material, headliner material itself. So it's going to be probably quite delicate work. I feel like I'm restoring an old painting or something. But if this would all come off nicely, then we can move on to the next stage. Oh, come on. Good morning everybody, welcome back. This took longer than we wanted to. Big job. We have basically fiberglassed all the way around now. You saw what we started. We made some fiberglass patches and then we started tearing off the carpet, as you saw. However, I took an extra half day just making sure all these patches were down, and I've sprayed them black to make them all look quite nice. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure this was good before we start coating it, because we wanted it right. And when you're filming, you're under some time constraints and everything else. So this is where we're at. The roof is now very, very solid, basically. It's going to be fine for laying new canvas on and putting up into the roof and everything else. And we've done some other patches onto the other side. But in reality, we're pretty much there. Doesn't look very pretty, but we're just about to lay down this foam, and then we can trim off all the excess, and then we can get on with laying the actual VW Heritage, or sorry, crikey, Heritage Part Center material down on top. And to do that, we will lay down the adhesion promoter, and we're going to do it completely on this area first. Lay down the foam, then we'll lay the adhesion promoter on top, lay the adhesion promoter on top of the canvas material as well, or the lining material, just to make sure everything's got the best chance of sticking down and staying down this time, because that's what failed last time, was the glue. So without further ado, let's get on. We're actually at the stage now where we can start laying down some material, which is awesome. We've covered the whole roof liner itself with the adhesion promoter. We've covered the back of this material with the adhesion promoter, and we're now going to spray everything with the high temperature spray adhesive. Now we use, if you're not familiar with any of my videos before, or any of the carpeting videos we've done, the high temperature spray adhesive has a temperature, well, it's temperature stable up to 120 degrees centigrade, and basically that means on a hot day your glue the glue on your roof lining is not going to fail and it falls down. Unfortunately it did in the previous case, but this is why we're using this stuff now, especially in a black car as well. So we're going to lay the glue down on both parts. It's a contact adhesive, which means you need to spray both the part you want sticking to and the part that you want the material stuck to. So we'll be spraying this quite liberally but evenly on this part and this part, and we're doing it in sections right now. I don't want to spray the whole roof in one go, and then if I get it wrong, I've got to unpeel it all again. So I'll be doing it in strips, I'll be doing it in sections. We've got our material laid out. We've got it laid out and it was covering all the areas. I'm just about to make a cut across here. So that'll get rid of the excess and it will make it easier to manage. And then once all of that is done, we'll bring it back and we'll start sticking down. material's down, I'm going to go around the edges with a fresh blade. I'm not going to use actually the whole Stanley, I'm just going to use a fresh blade in my hand, and we're just going to trim round all of the edges just to get rid of the excess material. We'll cut out the sunroof aperture and everything else as well. And using just the back end of this brush, now you can use anything. You can use your thumb it in really, really well in there. You can use the back of a screwdriver or anything really, but you've just got to make sure that you're getting in all those edges. This is actually a very good little tool. I did get out a roller, there we go. I use this more in carpeting when we're carpet lining vans, so you can actually get right in there with a roller. However, I find this one, that edge a little bit too sharp, so the nice soft edge of this paintbrush actually works really well to get in the grooves. And as you can see, it's coming back to life again. It actually looks like a headliner, or actually got all those shapes back and the lines and grooves that are original to the headliner. So what I'm going to do now, we'll trim around all the edges with a nice sharp blade. We'll dust over the surface with the adhesion promoter. We'll lay out the, first of all we'll lay out the fabric, make sure we've got it in the right orientation. Then we'll dust over both surfaces with the adhesion promoter, and then get straight on to laying that one down, sticking it down for good. And that works in very much the same way. We'll lay it out, roll it up a bit, and then we'll just do section at a time. But before we do that, let's get these edges done, clean up the surface, and make it all nice for the next layer. This is all the headliner material in its glory. It is cut to fit as well. Obviously stencil it out, cut it. You can see how the front's curved. That's going to go around the windscreen section. Then it kicks out here, which is the B pillar, and then the large section at the back, which is the D pillar, C pillar, C pillar. We're going to flip it over, lay down the adhesion promoter, because it's not the best sort of material here to be spraying glue straight onto. Do the same on that piece, and then we shall marry them up, and all shall be one. Look forward to it. Let's go. This is the important part. We have got the material in the right place, where we want it to be. Both areas that we want to have glue on have been sprayed with the adhesion promoter. And much like doing this part, we're just going to lay a piece of fabric out, and then out on this side we're going to do it in sections. So concentrate on this bit first, because you've got curves going left and right, and then they're curving up and round, compound curves. There's lots of areas we need to concentrate on here, so we're going to start at the back first. Take your time, work from the middle outwards, and if you feel that you've made a little bit of a mistake, or you've messed up a touch, just rip the material straight off really quick and have another go. Don't leave it to dwell. If you know you've made a mistake, take that off and get the material into the areas you need to. You need to keep the material at attention. So if I'm putting it down here, you can already see if I just press there, it's already starting to crease. So we've got to spread that material out evenly as we go along, which is why we only do it in sections. I wouldn't glue the whole thing in one go. So if we start at the back, for example, and then just sort of spread that material outwards, working it nice and easily. Don't let it all lay out at once. You'll see it as we go, but just make sure you're keeping the tension so you don't get creases, and you're working the material out and sort of pulling it and stretching it at the same time. It's an expensive piece of material, so you really need to make sure you're prepared and ready and everything's set. We are there now. I'm happy that we are there. We've got all the areas covered. All the bits are in place. We've got, well, that's the full one. We can use the rest of that to start with. Make sure your nozzle's clear. And if you get overspray on anything, using a solvent-based liquid such as brake cleaner or white spirit, we'll get that glue straight off. Let's go. Once I've laid the glue down, and you've seen me lay probably sort of 2 coats in quick succession down, you've got to wait for the solvent to evaporate. The solvent helps the glue come out of the can, become airborne, and then lay down. But if you were to lay this straight down onto that, you might find that the surfaces don't bond. You need to wait for the glue to flash off, which means you've got to wait for the solvent to dissipate, for both the surfaces to become tacky. Yeah, you can already feel that's gone tacky, that's gone tacky. And if you have a quick look on the other side there, you can see that there's condensation forming on the other side. So it looks like we're going straight in. Oh no. That's not what we wanted to happen straight away. There we go. So I reckon it's ready to stick, because that has gone off already. So, oh god, yeah, I've put enough glue layers on that, that's for sure. There we go. That was close. Right, that's why you don't stick a whole piece down in one go. So now, if you want to come here, Ali, I'll just show what I'm doing. Is I'm sort of holding this up with one hand, and then just forming the material, or pressing the material down, working from the middle to the outside, because again, if I lay that whole piece down, it will get stuck too early and it might have wrinkles in, and as you've just seen, it's quite difficult to get back up again. So just very gently working the material left and right, and we'll come to the edges after, but I just want to get that material down. That's the next dip, that's the next recess in there. Now I'm going to say I'm kind of happy with that. Just work that right in, pressing over and over and over again. And if you find you have a crease, picking it up almost immediately, bringing the material under some sort of tension, and then pressing it all out, so you get that nice smooth finish like that, and it's all laid down nice and evenly. So yeah, you don't really have much working time with the glue. It's not like a super glue where you've got some working time with it. If it sticks, it sticks. You can very quickly rip it back up again, but in terms of working time, like a 2-part epoxy, you don't really have it. So once it's down, it's down. Well, that wasn't easy. We got it done. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to cut out the area for the sunroof. We're not going to go too mad with it though, because obviously we need some excess to wrap around the lip of the car. So we'll just cut probably an X in the center, trim out this piece a little bit, and then we'll cut out all the holes for the door handles and things like that. So, and then all of this excess, I'll do it now. We'll trim off the excess here, but we want to leave about an inch, something like that. So most of these parts are okay, but if we sort of gauge our trimming off our excess, I'm going to leave about that much. We can always cut it again, and that gives us enough material to fold over and make nice the other side. I'm now regarding that as complete in terms of the material. What we're going to do now is prepare all the bits and pieces for inside. Just find all the clips and the pieces of trim that need to go in, get it all ready, get it all to hand, and then that whole headliner can go up and in the car in one fell swoop, and then we'll put the clips in the right order-ish, and get it up. So we've got the trims in, we've got the clips and everything else that's meant to hold the headliner up. I'm now confident that we can work on around the sunroof aperture, the frame. It's pretty old school in the way it's attached. Basically, instead of being its own frame, you've got to actually glue and stick it around the metalwork of the roof, which is no big deal, which can just get a bit messy. So, and also, you know, we removed the trim from this earlier. This is why, because you've got to lift this slightly and then stick it down. But once this is stuck all the way down, all the way round, then you put your rubber felt trim back in and it all looks lovely in factory. And once that's all done, we'll get the sunroof cover in, close it all up, and then you get to see it all in its glory. So I'm probably going to spray some of these. I'm probably going to trim this down a little bit more because I don't need that much excess. I'll trim it down a bit more, maybe a centimetre all the way around, and then apply the glue all the way around. Where did I put my blade? There. Apply the glue all the way around and stick it in. I'm going to lay a bit of carpet just inside because I know I'll have some overspray. I don't want to get it all over that lovely interior. And there we have it. We have our freshly restored Mk2 Golf Headliner. I want to say thank you very much to Heritage Parts Centre for helping us out with this one. It's been a mission, hasn't it? It's been an absolute mission. It's actually taken us 2 days, lots of glue, fiberglass, but it just shows you what you can bring back from the dead. Mk2 Golf Headliners are renowned for sort of falling down and breaking up, and you've got two options. You can buy a whole card with the material, take out your old one and just put that new one in, or if cost is more of a factor to you, you can actually tear off that fabric and replace it and use like a Scrim Foam as well. All the parts we've used are down below in the description now, so go and take a look, including the Scrim Foam, the tools and everything else. If you like what you've seen today and you want to support the channel, please head over to www.patreon.com/Coombe Valley Campers. As a patron, you are eligible for discounts in our merchandise store, where you can get hats and t-shirts and key rings and masks, all sorts of things now. But we do want to do a quick shout out to a Chris Gordon. He is our newest high-level patron supporter. We've got different tiers in Patreon. You can start off at £1, you can go all the way up to 12, and you've got different perks, but discount at the store is a big one, and you get early footage of these shows that we do for you. If you want to have a look at any of our other stuff, please head over to www.coomevalleycampers.co.uk. Follow us on Insta, follow us on Facebook. We're all over the place. Go and check us out. Thanks again. See you soon. Bye-bye.